Yeah, it wasn't too hard. Actually, it was a pain in the ass. But oh yeah, hello everyone. Let me start streaming as well.
Hello.
Good morning and/or afternoon. This is episode 261 of the OotiniCast. Chiller and myself, as always, with our semi-regular guest, Sweaterista. She of the Academy. And
Hey,
the
everybody.
sandwiches, as it turned out, if you watched Eric's live stream.
Brought Rhodian mayonnaise sandwiches for everyone. That'll be 125 credits each, thank you.
So, what did you actually send him? Were you just...
Okay, so this is a very good story. Do you want me to tell it on the show?
Yeah, please. Let's save that. Because that's perfect content. Alright, let me make
Add it to
sure
your
I'm
list.
recording. Yes.
I also couldn't
Saying
spell sandwiches to save my life.
It just
Can't
doesn't
remember
have the
how do you
H
spell
is all.
sandwiches.
It's a strange word.
No H. Other than that, you're fine.
I think I investigated where
There
the word
is
came
an
from.
H. It's just in a different spot.
Well, yeah.
Where were you no, that's okay. Alright. Shall we get rolling? Actually, let me tweet out since we're actually live, and this week at least I actually remembered.
Yeah. It
Had to
reminds me of
happen
an old
eventually.
theater vocal warm-up where you try to vocalize the difference between W and WH. And it
Oh, yeah.
goes,
How's it sound?
whether the weather is cold, whether the weather is hot, we'll be together whatever the weather, whether we like it or not.
Holy crap.
That's how it goes.
I like that. Sounds like something you'd like tell your kids to fall asleep.
It's like a
I'm
Peter Piper
nervous.
picked a heck
I
of
thought you were
pickled
going to say,
peppers.
like, cool whip.
Yes. From Family Guy, right?
Yeah.
Whip.
Right. I've probably forgotten some things or left them out, but I only got it back last night at like 10 p.m. from Interstate yet again. It's been a busy week, but I think we've got stuff to talk about. Are we? All right, chill. Are you recording?
I am recording. Test, test, test. Looks good.
Test mine
I
as well.
am also
Test, test, test.
recording, and it's actually showing up on Audacity. Oh, yeah.
Are you sure, Sweaterist?
I see the little wiggly lines.
Excellent.
Yeah. I always do that too.
Let me just check my volume. Test. Oh, shit. Just need to adjust my levels a little bit. Okay, you are both recording. Where is that coming from? Oh, God. Yeah, that's why. I'm recording, and I'll explain why. The output from my speakers rather than my microphone, which I'll now
Oh,
change.
so you're doing it on purpose.
I was, because I was recording the audio from the live stream with Eric's live stream.
Ah,
And I'll go into it later.
cool.
Let me just test it out.
How much of the stream did you get to watch?
Not much. Oh, well, actually, I was in and out.
Chill, when you say it's my turn to talk about the what did you do, can you give me a lead-in for the live stream? So I'm not just randomly talking about sandwiches.
Sure.
Thanks.
Well, one of us will bring it up.
Or whichever one of you, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, mine looks good enough. All
Well,
right.
I'll just, yeah, it won't be a problem. I can do it right when I ask you about your week. So I'll
All right.
just alter it a bit.
Let's roll.
All right. There you go. Getting ready to go in 5. Are we? Yeah, we're streaming, huh? Oh, I guess I must have
think
paused it or
so.
something. Ah, okay. It finally actually went. Okay. Okay, going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that is based on characters created by George Lucas. This is episode 261, being recorded on Wednesday, May 18th, 2016. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And our guest today is of Musco's stream, partly, Soterista. So, Teresa, what you been
She
doing?
of the sandwiches.
Sandwiches. So Eric Musco, one of the community team members for Sotor, did a very, very long live stream that we'll talk more about later. But I found out what server he was going to be on earlier when he was doing a test stream to make sure everything was working. I found out he was going to be on Prophecy of the Five, and I happened to have an extra character token. And I said to myself, how can I cause shenanigans? So I went to Prophecy of the Five, used a level 60 token, and went and did some heroics. Unfortunately, I forgot that doing heroics would waiver your ability to delete the token and go use it again somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I do not feel I wasted this token at all, though, because I did a grand epic gesture by doing the heroic. I earned myself some credits, and I bought 100 Rhodian mayonnaise sandwiches from Terrace, and I sent them all to Musco in the mail, and he opened them up during the stream and was eating them for, like, I don't know, at least 8 hours.
That is so awesome.
They do have a buff. It's a very slight buff, but it is a buff.
Yes, too. And during the rest of the week, we've had a really fun start of the week so far. It's just going to get better. Because of Conquest this week, it's the Deathmark Conquest, we decided to do PvP week for our guild. I mean, obviously every week is PvP week, because you can PvP whenever you want, and most people usually do, but we also got a new PvP officer, and we decided this week is the week to really focus down and get everybody trying PvP out. It's been really fun. I have a train coming, just a second.
Okay.
Choo-choo. Choo-choo. Must be a long, big train.
Some of them are, yeah.
It's interesting to see that Eric didn't like coffee. That surprised me, because I thought all you Americans, generalizing wildly, only drank coffee. He actually drinks black tea. English breakfast, of all things. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm not a coffee drinker myself either, so if it's a hot caffeine drink, yeah, I'll drink tea. I've been drinking tea a lot at work, actually. So sometimes green tea, and sometimes it's like orange spice tea, I think they call it. It's a type of black tea with some flavoring on it.
Yep, we get those as well.
Yeah.
Dekion in the chat room mentioned something pretty funny. During this, I watched the stream for quite a while when I wasn't doing other things around the house and going out and stuff, and I was posting a lot in the chat room, just replying to questions, talking to people who were there, because there was at least 1,000 people there at one point during the stream, and at least I saw was like 500, 600, and there was a point where they were talking about the Wookiee noises that you can make in Chapter 13, and I was making Wookiee noises in Twitch chat just for fun, and apparently it picked up the spam filter, so I got myself banned from the Twitch chat. Apparently it shows up like it tells the entire chat room when someone's gotten banned, so...
That's funny.
That was fun
Did you
times.
get unbanned?
No, I tried messaging Tate, but I don't think he got it. I just had to wait the full 10 minutes until I could talk again.
Okay.
Oh, it's just one of those, okay.
If it
A
had
timeout.
banned me,
It's
I
Not
would
the
have been very
permabans,
upset.
yeah.
No more sandwiches. I
That's
learned
funny.
something really interesting about heroics today, because along with PvP Week for Conquest, one of the other things you can do for points is do some of the heroics. And one of my guildmates told me, you should do all the bonuses, and it's better to do them in a group. And I was like, yeah, of course it's better to do them in the group. It's faster, but you can still do them alone, you know. And but they were saying, no, it's really good to do them in a group, because not only is it faster, but you get more credits than you would doing them alone. Apparently the way the bonuses work is that if you have 4 people in your group with you and they all complete the bonus, you get the credits not only for your own bonus, but also for each of their bonuses. So if you've got 2 people, that's awesome, and 4 people, you're just like rolling around in credits, apparently.
We had someone send that in as a tip. It's literally multiplied by the number of people in the group, and it makes no sense at all.
Nope.
So,
But I'll take
whatever.
it.
That's the way it works, and apparently that's the way it's meant to work. So
I mean, it's a really good incentive to group. I figured that doing it
true.
faster is enough as it is.
suppose, yeah. Maybe it is as simple as that, just a really good incentive.
I am so proud of my team. I've been mentioning it every time I'm on the show. We've been working on hard mode Revan in the Temple of Sacrifice operation. He's a very difficult boss, and we finally got to the very last stage. I was like, I was so excited when we got there. Granted, I was dead, but so was 40% of my team, but we got there. So what's so crazy about this fight is we've got the first couple stages down pretty much on rote. The only time we screw them up is when people are just getting distracted or, you know, when weird things happen. But the top floor, there's lightsabers that are running around slashing you floating in the air. There's Revan himself is channeling waves of energy at anywhere he's facing, and he also will backstab the tank if they happen to turn around. And there's a push in and a pull out during certain parts of the fight, and all this happens during the earlier stages. But on the very last stage, the thing that gets really crazy is you have to look around. There's different anomalies, I guess you could call them, aberrations that pop up around the fight, and you have to be looking at them during certain times, and there's not a lot of visual indication about where you're supposed to do that. And it's just so chaotic and hectic. I love it so much. I don't know when we're going to pass it, but I hope it's soon. I'm looking forward to actually doing the final stage while I'm still alive.
Nice.
And what's really cool about our hard mode group, during our story mode groups, when things like decorations and materials drop, everyone just needs, and whoever gets them. But for our hard mode group, since most of our players don't really need credits anymore, they know how to play the market, or they've been playing so long they don't need the credits at all. We donate all the blue materials to our guild bank most of the time, and the money goes towards decorating our flagship. So we only have 6 rooms left to unlock, and we recently were able to decorate like 100% all of the other rooms, and I've got a picture up of what our flagship looks like. It looks really cool once it's actually filled up.
Very nice.
Very nice, yeah.
All right. Tio, how about your week?
Well, believe it or not, I did actually play this week, though I was travelling for work once more, so I've been away pretty much all week. I only got back 10 p.m. last night. However, on the weekend, I did decide to finally tackle the Eternal Championship on live on the PTS. I only had a couple of runs with it, and I only got up to the 5th round on the PTS. The big problem with it, as far as I'm concerned, is that you cannot get part way through and then take a break. Because apparently after about 15 minutes, it will actually reset, and then you have to start again and do it all again. Okay. So if during the day or when I'm at home and the baby is awake, you just can't dedicate your however long it takes because baby. So, however, in the evenings, I was able, once she's asleep, I was able to get a couple of runs in. So the first, I think this was Saturday night my time, I did run through, got through to the 10th round. So that was some of those fights. They are challenging. And the 10th round I couldn't quite get, mostly because I ran out of time, and if you've done the 10th round, it gets crazy at the end. I mean, really crazy. And I'm also, as I came to realise, I'm running my Sork in the Madness spec. So it's all dot-based, which in the Eternal Championship is actually kind of terrible, because you really need burst in a lot of places. And so I'm thinking, if I was doing it Lightning, I would do it better. So I'm probably going to do it again in Lightning. Anyway, the second night, I did run through it again, much faster this time, because I knew the fights leading up to it, and then I did get through the 10th round. So I have finished it, and yeah, it's pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. Good challenging fights. I suspect it will get kind of easy once you learn the tricks, but yeah, it's more or less operation-style boss mechanics, a little bit watered down, but in some ways not really. So in theory, it is a really good way of teaching players how to actually do operations, which they have said in the past is its point.
Do you think you're going to try out some of the achievements, like under 15 minutes, don't die at all, and do it on the other classes?
Probably, almost certainly. So I'm going to try Lightning first, which means doing some heroics after switching specs. I have played Lightning before, but not for a while, and then try it on some of my other characters as well.
Have you got them up to Chapter 9 already? That's one of my bummers that I don't want to have to do EC.
Yeah, that's true. I've done my tank, my Guardian, on the pub side is certainly there, and I've got 2 or 3 others that are close, so I could push them through. So I'm curious how I would go with a tank, with a companion who was in healing mode, which is how I usually run. If they were in DPS mode, maybe it'd be okay, but I'm just wondering, because you really need to get a lot of damage. I mean, your survivability is great as a tank, but maybe I should switch to a DPS spec for that, or discipline, as it were. But yeah, really good fun.
Cool.
So yeah, my ongoing plan is heroics with Lightning spec, just to get the feel of it again, and then to try the Eternal Championship in Lightning spec, and then get through it. I also got Baldar. It turns out that run through getting it done over those couple of days was easily enough. fights
To
in the
make him
Eternal
happy.
Championship to get the rep to get him up to 10k, which is what you
Yeah,
need.
you either have to
Nice.
do all 10 if it's easy for you, but if it's not easy for you, you can just like do the first one 10 times if that makes you happy.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Cool.
that was awesome too. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Chill.
All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. Bill646 is here. Blay is here. Bo Daddy, Darth Brundlefly, Dekion, Dreadx, Farseer, Fiona Gahana, Gas Guy is here. Noblesse, Jagged Fell, Janes1, Josphin, Morolin, Siska, Sledgester, Sordarevan, Swodrista is here. Tikuli, Trig PT, Van Wa _ Aaron, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Wastegate and Zamzam are all here. Hello, Zamzam. And thanks everyone for coming. And we've already got some nice conversation going in the chat room, especially about Musco's stream. And I myself got multiple streams in this week. I got my light roleplay Juggernaut past Quesh, sort of into Hoth, but basically I was just queuing for some Warzone, so didn't really touch Hoth, actually. Also, at level 36, when you get the instant cast Force Choke, I switched to the tanking spec, so to try that, which is always fun. And I actually like the tanking spec for the Juggernaut. It's pretty slick. There's some nice AoE. There's some semi-decent damage, at least for a tank spec. And I'm actually doing it in mostly damage gear, except for the shield, of course, so far. And yeah, so I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the light RP thing. I might do that on this character or some other characters. I don't know, but it was a lot of fun. So I had a lot of good streams this week, and I also did watch some of Musco's stream. I had some other things going on Saturday, and then actually I streamed myself, and then someone said, "Hey, are you also watching Musco's stream?" I was like, "Oh yeah!" Then I asked as soon as I was done with that. Then I watched Musco's pretty much for the end of his stream. So, and that was fun. So. Yeah, a lot of good SWTOR stuff this week. I really enjoyed it. That'll bring us to the tip of the week. And we've got 3 tips this week. I'll start us off with Bohun from the Shadowlands. Bohun writes, "This tip is tactical and more of a reminder. Rescue/extrication, playing a sage or sorcerer, gives you an easy way to move companions around. It's really useful for getting them out of AoE in Eternal Champion fights." Very nice.
Well, just mentioned that wasn't typically a problem I found. I was using Lana in healing spec, and it was only the 10th fight where I actually had to make sure that she came to me, and I was using attack my target rather than making them passive or using extricate to pull them to you. But yes,
Right.
that is a fantastic way of doing it too.
That is a good way. And did you find that using the melee healer helped her stay in range and so on, so that she kept
Absolutely.
healing you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think on my melee champions I might start doing that too, because that is kind of an issue sometimes in some of those fights. Let's see, and Bohun continues, "After the RP segment, I thought about how I do my own limited RP experience with my characters. Rather than picking out character history traits and personality, I pick an overarching goal my character has, and I let the personality develop by supporting it. Such as an Imperial agent who wants to reduce or remove the Sith influence on Imperial life, or a Jedi Knight who wants to become the greatest warrior in the galaxy. In that way, you can justify your choices to further that goal, thereby crafting character traits and an RP experience. Since we are usually limited to 3 options in our choices, you often run into, but my character wouldn't choose any of these. But by using goal-oriented RP, you can bend those choices to fit your long-term goal. Maybe you lie to the Sith Lord you're working with so he doesn't suspect your true goal, or you turn down the peaceful negotiations because you constantly want to test yourself in battle. So the shortened version of this, use long-term goal-based RP to give you more flexibility in selecting choices that make sense and develop the personality as you go." That seems like a fun way to do it, too.
I love this tip so much because they're incredibly right. If you have a complex character that you've created in your head or on paper, a lot of the times the choices really don't fit. But I've actually gone this route with 2 of my characters I don't have backstories for. I don't know where they're from or their life story. But one I've chosen for my Jedi Knight, their goal is to kill the Emperor. And whatever they have to do, they'll do to achieve that goal. Another one of my characters I chose to try and marry the Emperor. She's a bit crazy, but the options get really fun when you've just got a really simple goal to choose from. because you might choose ones that are not necessarily light or dark. They'll often mix back and forth if you've got a goal to follow.
That is nice.
Alright, our next tip is from Morsera of our own Utini Rage Guild. My tip involves changing instances when doing group content. At the end of some group missions, there is a boss or item that needs to be looted outside of a phase, and several player groups are waiting for it to spawn. During these waits, we often send a player to another instance of the planet to see if the boss is up or the line is shorter. In the event that the other instance doesn't provide what we're looking for, a group member needs to return to the original instance so that we can proceed. To avoid the wait time to switch back to the instance with the group, you can travel to your stronghold and then immediately return to the planet you left. The game will automatically put you back in the same instance as your group members. That is a really cool tip. So, just to sum it up, if you do want to spread out through the instances on a planet, just to see if whatever it is that you're after is up, and it may be in a different instance to the one your group is in, you can do that, but then go back to the stronghold and then travel back, and you will just be put in with your group, probably the phase in which your group leader is.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
Fantastic
Handy
idea.
dandy.
Yeah.
That's handy. And yeah, since everyone has a stronghold, it makes it super easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually a relatively quick loading time, too.
Yeah.
All right, and the third and final tip from Sin Wolf. When running TFB, Terror from Beyond, if you're having trouble locating the nodes or vortex things that appear on the platforms, you can look for a blue line. The line leads to each node or vortex, which needs to be destroyed. Which
I've never
fight is
noticed
that?
I
I
hadn't
usually just
either.
flail around looking for them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
fight,
last
TFB?
fight, yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The last half of the last fight, yeah.
Exactly.
You could also turn on your nameplates. That makes things easy.
Yeah. And if you're usually at the point where you're having to sort of hunt them down, things are probably going a bit bad anyway. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, by random allotment, the winner is Marisa. So congratulations, Marisa. You're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast-provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. And that will bring us to the holo feed. Tio?
Oh, chill, your delivery is almost perfect. Almost. Doesn't matter.
Did I mess up one word or something?
Just a tiny... Anyway, it really doesn't matter. Probably I'm the only one who would actually notice. Alright, in the news this week, let's start with maintenance. On Tuesday, they had some 5 hours of downtime, usual slot, server-side only, no client patch. And they didn't really explain what they were doing. Who knows? Usual, just possibly hardware upgrades, database cleanup, whatever. Anyway, that was done. No problems at all. Servers came back up. And all was well. Next, the Eternal Championship Speed Run. Now, as you know, that's one of the events for May. It was meant to finish on the 20th. That's certainly what we reported, because that's what it said on the May-the-4th webpage. But if you looked at the legal stuff, it turned out it was supposed to finish on the 17th, and indeed it did. There was a post about it on the last day to actually get it done. So it's 3 days shorter than expected. However, so it is now done. And so...
I wonder how that sits in like a legal sense. Like obviously all the legalese said the correct dates, but it seems almost like false advertising. Yeah, it'll be on for 3 more days.
You know, that's all true, and why didn't they just extend it by another 3 days? Would it have really killed them?
The legalese said the end date, and changing that would be a hassle.
Possibly?
I
don't
imagine,
know.
because people entered under those legal terms.
Yeah, that's true.
And then all of a sudden
Anyway.
it's changed.
So I think the bottom line here is you really don't want to make this kind of mistake, but when you do, you just got to deal. So that's what happened. So I don't know if the winners have been announced yet. They've been a bit
No.
slow announcing the winners so far for the various things.
I have a good feeling about this one. I hope at least they're making sure the winners haven't cheated in some way.
Right.
Like they're going through their game files and whatever like way they can check.
They certainly have been catching people out who were using that /stuck exploit. So hopefully, as you say, and if there are any other tricks, they are catching them. Right, next, cheap character transfers. Now, we did mention that this was potentially a thing because Ben Irving asked the community, if we gave you a week or so to move your characters wherever the hell you want to move them, back at the reduced price. Would that be cool? And enough people must have said yes, that, yep, it's going to happen. So, from Thursday, it's kind of weird, but I guess it puts it over the weekend, from Thursday, May 26th, through to Sunday, June the 5th, and if I look at my calendar, that gives you just under 2 weeks. They are reducing the price of intra-region transfers back to 90 cartel coins from their current increased price of 1,000. So, in that period, May 26th to June 5th, you will only have to pay 90 cartel coins. However, the inter-region, between regions, between the US and the EU, will remain at the current price of 1,500 cartel coins.
Okay.
Again, we have still no idea why the US to EU costs more. I suppose you could...
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing some sort of manual handling of that somehow. I doubt it. No idea. So,
I do really like this week. This kind of leniency they've added. I've got a train coming again.
it's okay, we can wait.
I'm planning on, well, not planning, but I'm definitely considering going ahead and making some new characters and just rolling them over to all the non-regional servers, and just to have the legacy caught up. That way, if I do end up creating a character on a new server for any reason, it's all ready to go. Don't have to worry about only having one buff or whatever.
Well, you may need that if you exhaust all 40 character slots you can potentially get on the Harbinger.
True, but what I would probably do is just do it like one at a time. Just buy a slot, then make one, send it, make one, send it, make one, send it.
Okay, so Arista?
I really like that they've added a leniency to this, because a while ago when these first came out, Eric Musco said, we'd give you guys a lot of time, at least weeks with S at the end, to figure out how you want it, where you want your characters to end up, if you want to move your guild, stuff like that. Just notice about the cheap transfers ending, and they only give us a very short week. And especially if you have a whole guild that you might want to transfer and maybe you've been holding off, that is not enough time to get everybody together. Imagine trying to assemble 100+ people. And even if it's only just like 12 people, maybe you want some time to talk about it first. So they noticed the problem. They asked, would this be a good solution? They implemented a solution, and they said exactly when it would happen, which is also soon. And they mentioned when it would end, and they gave very exact details about it. And I wish every single problem could be solved this easily and with this much clarity and, I guess, back and forth going on. I know a lot of the technical problems can't be fixed this easily, but wow, this one, I hope they keep up with this. I think it has to do with Ben Irving kind of coming more into the spotlight of talking with people. It seems he's had a pretty good influence on things, and I hope they keep it up. I really do.
Great. Yeah, I really do. Okay, next let's talk about the Community Cantina. They have announced that pretty much the first one for 2016, as far as I recall, I don't think we've had one yet, will be at Star Wars Celebration in the United Kingdom in London. And the event itself will be at the Fox at Excel. Sounds pretty amazing, but anyway, this will be on Saturday, 16 July, and will run from 8 to 11 p.m. So if you happen to be in London for Star Wars Celebration, and we know that I believe Blacklock is going for sure, Charlie is going.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, of course you should obviously go to the cantina and say hello to our BioWare friends.
And sometimes they give you free drinks. Lots of free drinks.
They almost always do, yeah.
And note it is an adult event, so clearly there will be alcohol served. Whether it's free or not, almost certainly will be. So we have yet to find out if there's going to be any other community cantinas this year. The fact they've waited until halfway through the year implies that, for whatever reason, they're just not doing them as much anymore.
I was so excited. During the stream, Eric Musco was like, just hold on, guys. Next week we're going to be announcing upcoming cantinas. And he said
Yeah.
it multiple times because people kept asking. And I assumed it would be
Yep.
something else than the obvious of, duh, we're showing up in London.
I suspect post will follow with this is where they anticipate to be, but as we know, they got burned, in fact, by our own Utini Cantina being screwed around when
Yeah,
they announced a
always
date and it didn't quite
Right.
pan out. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess now they want to be really, really sure before they announce anything.
That makes sense. I guess I'd
Yeah.
rather that in the end.
It'll be good, especially if they just give us the general ideas, because a lot of them are sort of based around the various cons and expos and so on. And if we just get an idea of which ones they're actually looking at, that, that we can make plans. We'll
What
see.
do you guys feel about the fact that they were trying to move away from the physical cantinas more to the live streams, the weekly or monthly live streams? How do you feel that's been?
I feel really, really good about it because it opens it up to far, far more people. It removes the interpersonal connection stuff, but the fact that you can have so many more people seeing what happened is great, because only a limited number of people can go to cantinas, and those of us in Australia, the opportunity is more or less non-existent to actually go, or anywhere else in the world, obviously outside the United
It's
States.
about as common as Oceania servers opening back up.
Indeed. So I think it's great. What about you, Chill?
Yeah, I like it, and for the same reason. Although having been to multiple cantinas, they are fun. I mean, they're always enjoyable, but it's true. And also, when it's on stream, you can watch it back. If you miss something, you can pause it, and all that good stuff. No.
Agreed. Of course, the best of both worlds would be streaming a live cantina in its entirety with like multiple feeds or something. But
I always wanted something like that. I didn't understand until I went to one why it wasn't streamed live. It was a dark bar, and you could barely hear anyone who
Yep.
wasn't beside you, even though there wasn't loud music playing, and you couldn't tell anything that was going on from the few videos that I took.
the
Yeah.
audio would be terrible.
They would have to have very special mics and so on to get it right. It would be very tricky.
All right, next let's talk about class changes. Yes, we're getting some, and they're coming in Game Update 4.5. Now, Eric, during his live stream, did actually answer the question, why class changes halfway through PvP Season 7, Rank PvP Season 7, and he said that, well, they do prefer to do them between seasons, but this is just the way the timing worked out, essentially, is what it boiled down to. So,
enough.
we're getting class changes. They are coming with Game Update 4.5, which I believe is the next cab off the rank, and should be coming in, well, this is the interesting question. It could either be coming with the next chapter on June the 1st, which is a Wednesday, or maybe they'll deploy the game update on the 31st of May, and the chapter will go live on the 1st of June. Don't know. Yeah, we'll see. They haven't actually announced a date for the game update. Obviously for the chapter they have. So let's just quickly run through the changes. I won't go into the details of what the changes are. You can read them in the patch notes. Eric also did confirm that these changes are it for Game Update 4.5. There are no more changes being considered. So this is pretty much
Okay.
locked in, and it will not be on the PTS. So let's start with Sith Inquisitors, and obviously this all applies to the Mirror as well, the Jedi Consular. Specifically, Sorks and Corruption, specifically the healers. And the designer note associated with this is that Corruption Sorks are presently exceptional healers who outperform the other healing disciplines in the game and create unbalanced PvE and PvP scenarios. Now, I'll just note that in our PvE, when we were still doing ops, that was kind of obvious, Jill. When you were on your Sork, it was just... Sorry, when you were on your Sage, you're an outstanding healer. It was just too easy. I was struggling
right.
to keep up.
And
on
I'd
my
never, yeah,
Sherlock.
exactly. And this was the first time I'd ever raid healed at all. So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And in PvP, we did talk through the stats that we're getting
Yes.
from the leaderboard, and clearly they're mostly Sorks, funnily
yes.
enough.
Tons of Sorks.
So anyway, the note goes on, by increasing the force cost of heals and counterbalancing the cost increase with a slight healing boost, we are leveling the healing potential of the Corruption Sorcerer to better fit alongside other healing disciplines and combat encounters witnessed in game. Now, what that essentially means is that it's going to cost you more to do your heals, which means you will run out of resource quicker, so you can't just spam. But when you do heal, even though it costs more, they actually heal for more as well. So it'll make you
Right.
good. Anyway, he talks more about it. He goes on. Some may wonder why we did not just increase the healing capabilities of the other healing disciplines in the game to match that of the Corruption Sorcerer. In this instance, we could not do that because all of the combat math for the game, both in PvE and PvP, is balanced around the current healing capabilities of the other healing disciplines, not the overpowered Sorc Healer and Sage Healer. So, if we were to increase the healing capabilities of the other healing disciplines to match the healing capabilities of the Corruption Sorcerer, as in bring them up rather than taking the Corruption Sorcerer down, then healing would be more effective than intended, which would cause problems in both PvE and PvP. So, that makes sense. They're just gonna...
Yeah.
Clearly, the Corruption Sorcerers were OP, and they're just gonna nerf them down to where they should be. Is the way to summarise that. And finally, we decided to increase force costs and slightly improve the strength of individual healing abilities in this balancing initiative to prevent Corruption Sorcerers from feeling impotent. Following these changes, burst healing should feel like what it is on live, yet the sustained healing experience will be notably decreased, so you can't just spam. This design lowers the average healing output of the Corruption Sorcerer to better match other healing disciplines, while still allowing the Sorcerer's individual heals to make an impact.
Right. It was
Alright.
very frustrating in a war zone when you had a geared Sorc and
Alright.
they were just spamming, and their force wasn't, the amount of force they had at their disposal just never seemed to go down. You literally couldn't run them out of force. So this is probably a good way. And their heals were plenty strong already. I'm not sure why they felt the need to actually bump them. I'm reading the reason, and yet I'm not sure if I feel the need for that to happen. But we'll see. Hopefully it'll be enough. We'll see. It's definitely a nerf, that's for sure. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Alright, let's talk about Madness, so DPS, Sorcs, and the equivalent Sages. What they're doing with them is Deathfield's instant AoE damage and dot spread potential is currently too effective in PvE and PvP. We are reducing the radius to 5 meters, down from 8 meters, to match all other instant damaging AoE abilities in-game. And yes, it is.
Yeah. It's a nice big area where it was.
It is. So that's going to suck a little bit, but yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, you should be able to hit with a 5 meter radius anyway, but gosh. Yeah, it was nice. It was such a big area.
Also, Madness Sorcerer's self-healing is currently too effective in PvE and PvP. We've reduced the life stolen by Affliction and Creeping Terror, that's your dots, to better match the self-preservation of similar disciplines. Oh, that's a bit tragic, but so be it.
It's quite a bit of nerfing too. I mean,
Yeah.
from 25% of the damage to 10%. So, yeah, that's 60% less. That's a lot.
And note that reduction in Deathfield's radius also affects Hatred Assassins, so the melee equivalent.
Oh,
Yeah.
they changed that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alright, now the other big performer in ranked PvP is Powertex. And they've also been kind of nerfed. So what they've basically done is changed the base range of Missile Blast and Rail Shot from 30 meters down to 10 meters.
Ah.
So, and they explain this why. Powertech's range potential is currently too strong for a class that is intended to be played as a close quarters combatant. Powertechs are melee onslaught specialists and should be encouraged to engage their targets in close proximity. By reducing the range of Missile Blast and Rail Shot, we placed the Powertech's range potential closer to its design as a close quarters combatant, and further defined their unique style in various combat scenarios. Mercenaries maintain their 30-meter range through our reintroduction of propulsion systems, which is just a passive in their discipline path, which will put it back to 30 meters where it should be. So this whole thing about them being the range tank, that sort of never really worked out unless you consider range to be 10 meters rather than melee, which is 4 meters. Oh well.
There's plenty of times when it actually is nice to have that 10 meters rather than having to be in melee
I was
range.
thinking they still are kind of range. It's still nice to have that taunt that goes across the room too. And
Yeah.
you can still like break someone who's trying to get a node with your pew pew.
Indeed.
Like they're trying to get a node in Warzone.
Yeah. All right, now talking about power tech specifically, what they've done is reduce the ability to reduce the movement speed of targets, basically the slow that you can do with magnetic blast, flame burst, and flame sweep, is now will only last for 3 seconds, down from 6 seconds. Because at the moment, as I explain, the suppressive potential is currently a little too impressive with the suppressive tools utility. In its current iteration, players fleeing from power techs are far too susceptible to suffering a perpetual state of reduced movement, permanently slowed, under the effects of suppressive tools. To better the player experience, that's the other players that you're attacking, and balance power tech target control potential, we have reduced the duration of it down from 6 seconds to 3 seconds. And finally, they've actually reduced the survivor. They've where is it? Your shoulder cannon currently heals you for 5% of your total health when you're damaging a target with it, and they're reducing it to 3%.
Yeah, this is a utility though. It's optional.
Shield cannon, right?
Yeah, the shield cannon. It's one of the master ones in the bottom part. And I was taking it just for PvP purposes. I mean, 5% of your health, which you can hit a few times in a row.
Awesome.
It's a nice amount, but 3% is still decent. But now it might be worth taking a look at some of the other masteries there at the end of the tree. So
the explanation is basically power tech survivability currently surpasses the survivability of similar classes, and thus they reduce self-healing. So it makes sense. Alright, that's pretty much the class changes, and obviously they're the equivalent for the pub side or the mirror classes. So the tall poppies in ranked PvP, the ones who are overperforming, have all been cut down to size. Of course, given it's halfway through the season, whether that will actually make any difference as far as how many people got into the gold or silver brackets on those classes, who knows.
right.
Better late than never.
Yeah, and this comes live when, do we know? 4.5. So
4.5, so beginning of June.
Okay.
Or end of May. Alright, and finally in SWTOR news, let's talk about Eric's live stream. So, this went for over 15 hours. Yes, he did play through all of Knights of the Fallen Empire, all the way through. He talked basically through the stream about doing Eternal Championship. If he was targeting midnight to finish, and if he got finished early, he was going to do like some EC or whatever. But no, he basically got it done, and it was pretty much time to close up at that point.
Right.
So I didn't actually watch the whole stream because it started like really early in the morning my time. So what I actually did was record the audio and then just did some clever audio engineering to only pull out the bits where Eric was talking.
Nice.
And I've listened to that. So that cut it down from 15 hours to maybe 4 hours, which I could listen to at 1.5 speed. Anyway, I did listen to everything that he said. Eric talks fast anyway.
So you heard the bird scream? At 1.5 speed?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
I love that. I was watching it live when he was doing that. It was hilarious.
I was laughing so hard.
And so loud.
So anyway, as I listened through, I took notes about everything that was said. So let's just quickly run through it. There's no big reveals that came out of this. Some people thought that he was saying some kind of negative things about the future of operations, but when you actually listen to it, he didn't. So there was actually kind of nothing nasty in this at all. No bad news. In fact, it was all just Eric communicating stuff. Nothing really new, but just some interesting things along the way. Firstly, the Chevan event, which we all remember. What was his other name? Some sort of competition race, the Grand
Acquisition race.
Grand Acquisition Race.
The Grand Acquisition Race, he did confirm it's probably not going to come back because it wasn't designed to be repeatable. Of course, none of them were designed to be repeatable, so whatever.
Famous for having the introduction of the broken speeder. I love that speeder.
Indeed, the broken, yes. In fact, thinking back on it, that was one event I thought they really could bring back, because the Chevan could just turn up again and again and again.
Right.
But whatever. Apparently
they
not.
also added that vendor that you could, if you missed out on the rewards, you can at least get those now. So, apart from the actual event itself, didn't miss out on much now.
That's true.
They asked whether there would be any new events that we haven't seen before, and Eric's response was wait and see, which was implying that maybe there are some on the cards, but he did not confirm.
Because normally they say we don't have any on the table right now, and there's no news, so
Yep.
speculation arise.
Now, you may remember Nick Vola, who joined the community team. Apparently he's now working with marketing and with their social media. So
Yeah,
we never see him, but
Nick
he's there
Avola
behind the
does,
scenes.
Twitter. He does the Twitter,
I didn't know
which
that.
is really cool. It actually, the Twitter used to be kind of so-so. It's really fun lately. They post screenshots about like the new cartel market stuff that's coming out, and there's sometimes contests if you're paying attention. And obviously, they actually retweet stuff from people around who use the hashtag Sotor tag.
Indeed. I believe some people consider it a bit of a game to get retweeted by at Swotor. But anyway, let's see. They did mention weapon tunings will be coming from other sources than the cartel market in the future.
Nice.
So it isn't just going to be a cartel market thing. We will get them from other sources. And this is where the controversy sort of came from. There is nothing to announce in the short term about new operations. And that's all he said. There are no current plans in the short term. So
And
in
he
the
said
next 2 to 3
something
months.
like, I don't want to say never, because never is something we don't really say at BioWare. There's just nothing planned right now.
Right now. And he said he would give the same answer to any aspect of the game, such as Galactic Starfighter. So you can't read anything into it. All it means is they're not currently working on any operations right now. And I guess we sort of feared that was the case, and so be it.
Yeah.
But they are working on stuff, as they kept alluding to. So,
Stuff.
stuff. So whatever.
I mean, we know they're working on the next round of chapters, season 2.
Season 2,
or whatever you want
yes,
to call
for
it.
sure. And implication was other stuff as well. Now, Michael Backus did drop by. Now, he's the lead designer, along with the other lead designer, Charles Boyd, who's a creative designer, creative lead. Anyway, Michael Backus was also the lead developer for Galactic Starfighter, and so the heavy implication was he would love to do some more Galactic Starfighter, but what they're doing is listening to what players want. So
Right.
enough players have got to indicate some interest in it. Doesn't have to be everyone or even the majority, but just sufficient players. So if you want GSF, get on the official forums and ask for it, is basically, or use whatever social media you want.
And tell your GSF friends, all 6 of them, to do the same.
Personally, I think if they added a PvE variant of it, it would be an
I do too.
runaway success. So that would be a fantastic thing to add to the game. Really, really fantastic. Just saying. Let's see. They mentioned the Eternal Championship is possible in item rating 190 gear. It's possible but challenging to get past the 5th boss, so it is intended that you've got better than that, but that's not hard to get these days. We've already talked about that. Now, they did confirm that someone asked them explicitly, did they tell the guild Zors, and we talked about this last week, that there would be no new operations for 2 years? And Eric said no, they didn't tell them that. Is that the kind of thing BioWare would tell anyone, that there would definitely be no new operations for 2 years? Of course, if you went back and read what Zors actually said they were told that BioWare would have a focus on story for 2 years.
Right.
There's no mention there
Focus on
about
story.
not doing operations. They're just
Right.
going to focus
They-
on story.
That's how Zors took it.
And then they went on
It's a
to
pretty
do.
fair way to take it. It's just not exactly what they said, though.
Indeed. So
Right.
no one is lying here. Everyone is conveying the
Yes.
information exactly correctly, is completely honest, but doesn't tell us anything. They did mention why doesn't James Olin talk more on the forums or whatever, because he is a director of BioWare, not just BioWare Austin on SWOTOR. So basically, he's too senior to be talking about specific games. His vision is wide and vast. So
Right.
that's why. There will only be one subscriber reward in June. So if you are subscribed on June 1st, you will immediately get early access because it comes out on June 1st to the next chapter, chapter 14. And then later in June, you will indeed get early access to chapter 15 as well. But only one subscriber reward, which is that speeder, I believe.
Only one
June.
HK item. I mean, what?
It's not HK.
It's not HK, it's the speeder, yeah.
Yeah, I believe they did talk about that. They didn't really intend them to be all HK themed. It just sort of worked out that way.
Right. They could make an HK speeder. Have his head at the front.
Please. Yeah. Enough already with HK. We'll be playing as HK soon enough once we get our long-term subscriber reward, which no one really mentions anymore because it's way too late to get it now. So a reason to stay subscribed, obviously. And the reason there are 2 chapters in June is because they've basically been 4 weeks apart, and that's just the way the timing eventually worked out. That's all. Will there be a chapter 16, the last chapter for Season 1 in August? In July, which will be basically the month following June. They were really cagey about that one. I assume so, but they were just trying to leave. That was when Debbie Sue, the marketing lady, was on, and
right.
She probably can't help herself trying to build it up.
Yeah, because they had like those list of chapters, but then the last chapters didn't have any titles because they weren't announcing those yet.
Right.
And it kind of told you roughly how many chapters they had laid out for it. So, I mean, unless they decided to add more later, pretty much that's got to be it. So, but there's going to be another season, so at some point.
So they said.
Yep.
They confirmed, because it came up multiple times, not a large percentage of the population that plays SWTOR do operations.
And we know that.
He went on to say that's true of a lot of different content, presumably Flashpoints. You could say PvP, or the Eternal Championship is another example, or GSF, whatever. Not everyone does everything, except story, because, well
you're gonna have to.
That's how we ended up here anyway, in the first place.
True.
Now, the whole better than cross-server thing was said in a one-on-one conversation at a cantina. So, and they do not consider that a promise. So the better than cross-server was a solution that was better than allowing people to group across servers or server mergers or whatever. And apparently the PvP/PvE game focus areas was the majority of what was was talked about when they were referring to whatever the solution was to the better than cross-server.
I understand that it was never a promise. It was just something mentioned that they were possibly working on. I understand not everything they investigate and are working on comes to fruition. But darn it, it's been so long. I want to know what it was. I want to know, was it mega servers? Was it server mergers? Was it secretly the 90 cartel coin sale? I just want to know.
I wonder if they'll eventually reveal that. I'm guessing probably not.
No, because then we'll say, you guys were working on mega servers and we never got them. You guys are horrible, and we hate you forever.
Alright, nearly done. They are looking for a solution to those cartel market certificates that let you get the associated reputations, because there are vendors associated with them. The slot machines, which gave items with one particular reputation, the first one, was their initial solution to that, providing those certs, given they were no longer selling the cartel packs which contained the certificates, but they kind of screwed that up, as we all know, because they had the other mats in them that were far too easy to get. And now they're tarred with a rather nasty brush. But they may still release future slot machines as a way of getting people those cartel certificates. And finally, they are definitely not porting SWTOR to the PlayStation 4.
Ah, yes. Because I think it was Star Trek Online that announced they were porting to the PS4, and I think at least one
and
other
to the
platform
Xbox
too.
One. Yeah.
Was it the Xbox? Okay.
I feel like I can barely keybind all my abilities to like the keyboard and the mouse. I can't imagine trying to use a controller in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't do consoles, but a lot of people do apparently. So good luck to Star Trek Online and Elder Scrolls Online, who apparently have done quite well by adding consoles to their range of target platforms. Alright, I'm skipping all that because we won't have time. Let's just do a little bit of community news. We got a very nice iTunes review, 5-star, from Big Dog DO6 instead of dog, from the USA, and he said, "Great hosts, guests, and format. A pleasant, relaxing, and knowledge-infused podcast for those looking to learn or listen to discussion about SWTOR." So thank you, Big Dog. That's very kind words. And if you want to help us out, please give us a review on iTunes. There's a link on our sidebar that will take you right there. And yeah, that's all we ask. Oh, and signing up as a patron on Patreon would be cool too. Yeah, well, whatever. All right, and that's the news.
Okay, that'll bring us to the Academy. And this week, Swotarista, you'll tell us about the chat system, how to filter out what you don't want to hear, and how to hear more about the things you like by joining channels.
The chat system is the primary way of communicating with others in Star Wars: The Old Republic. You can use it to chat socially with others, find groups to play with, and ask for and offer help, and there's a whole lot of ways to customize it. SOTOR Chat has many different default channels. The one you'll see the most is called General. Everyone who is on the same planet or ship as you can see it. For example, if you're on Coruscant, everything you post or see in General Chat is seen by everyone else on Coruscant. Because it's the default chat, it's also the most prone to include spam or rants. You can type in General Chat by first typing /general or /1 in the chat box. An easy way to start typing in chat is to hit the Enter key on your keyboard, or you can click it manually. The two other planetary-wide channels are Trade and PvP. Trade Chat is meant to be used for advertising cool items you have for sale, or for posting about items you're looking for. Make sure to always check the GTN first for prices and availability. PvP Chat is used to discuss player versus player content, like war zones and open world PvP. You can chat in either of these channels by typing /trade or /PvP. All three of these planetary-wide channels show up as white by default and can only be seen by your faction. There are also 3 local channels. They can only be seen by those near you. Say Chat is often used for roleplay, shows up as white text, and you can chat in it by typing /say. Say Chat is currently the only channel that can be seen by a member of the opposite factions, so a Jedi and a Sith could talk together in Say Chat. The Emote channel is also used by roleplayers and is short range, but acts differently than every other channel. You must first type /emote or /e and then follow it up with an action your character would take. For example, if you type /e takes a drink, it will show up as the name of your character takes a drink, as if it were an action and not something that's being said. Typed emotes show up in orange text, just like the built-in emotes like /dance. There's also yell, which functions like say, but shows up in red text. It's not used very often. Neither of these can be seen by the opposite faction, so if you're role-playing, keep in mind your buddy might not be able to hear you if they're on the opposite faction. Whisper is a great feature for talking to another player privately, or just to chat with them without having the whole server jump in on your conversation. You can whisper another player who is online and in the same faction as you by typing /whisper or /w, a space, then their character's full name, and then a colon, the symbol that's 2 dots stacked on top of each other. That message will go to them and them alone. What's nice is once they reply, instead of typing again to reply to them, you can just click their name in chat and it will pre-fill it for you. You can also sometimes whisper people by right-clicking their portrait if you have them selected. Whisper Chat shows up in light purple font and works anywhere on the server. Group and operation chats are created every time you enter a party. If you're in a party, you can type /p to chat with your party. This is a great way to talk about strategy if you're doing Flashpoint, or to let people know which heroic you want to do next. Groups by default can have a maximum of 4 people, and party chat shows up in blue. Operation Chat opens up when the group leader turns the party into an operation group, which can have a lot more people. To talk to your operations group, type /ops, OPS. Ops Chat shows up in a light orange color. If you're in an operations group and are either the group leader or an assistant, there's a cool feature called Raid Announcement, which lets you easily share a quick message with your entire group. This is great for calling out instructions during a fight. For example, if you type "stop attacking" in the raid announcement, your group will see the words "stop attacking" in big red letters in the middle of the screen. To type a raid announcement, type /RA. Your group members can see party chat and operations chat no matter where they are. Another handy feature groups often use is /roll. It will roll a die between 1 and 100 and show the results in chat to everyone on the same faction nearby.
Train!
Choo-choo. The hype train. Wow, it's a long one. Someone's shipping a whole lot of stuff somewhere.
Yeah. The economy's improving, apparently.
What was I just talking about? I lost my spot with the train. The train took my script
slash
away.
roll, I believe, was where you stopped.
Right. Let's talk about that again. Another handy feature groups often use is slash roll. It will roll a die between 1 and 100 and show the results in chat to everyone on the same faction nearby. This can be used to determine who gets loot, for role-playing that's numbers-based, or in any case where you might need to decide an outcome by chance. Operation groups will sometimes set the loot so only the leader can assign it, and then have players slash roll to win a piece, ensuring that the loot gets passed out fairly and no player gets it all by pure luck. When you win something through slash roll, you're banned from rolling again on a future piece of gear. Guild chat opens up whenever you're in a guild. Guild chat can be seen by any guild member, no matter where they are in the galaxy. Guild chat shows up in light green text and can be typed in with /G. Guild chat is often considered a haven from general chat. In general chat, anyone can speak up about any crazy topic, but in guild chat, if you say something your guild leaders or guild members don't like, you can easily be removed from the guild. Guild chat is often a great place to turn for help, advice, or people to group up with, depending on your guild. There are also a bunch of chat channels like non-player character conversations and dialogue, system feedback, and information texts. All of these chat channels can be controlled and turned on and off in the chat panel settings. To open the chat panel settings, go to your chat tab and right-click on the tab's name. It should be labeled General by default. From the drop-down, choose Chat Settings. In this panel, you can control two things: whether any of these channels show up in your chat tab, and what color they show up in. You can change the color by clicking the little color boxes beside the channel names. It might be useful to you to differentiate the /say and /general chat with different colors, as they both default to white. You can also tone down a chat by picking a dark color, like dark blue, to make it harder to read and easier to ignore. If you don't want to see a chat at all, you can turn it off by unchecking the box on the right of the chat's name. Many players uncheck general chat because it often contains political talk and immaturity because of its open nature. You could also choose to turn off all public chats, like trade, PvP, say and emote, if you only want to talk to those you choose to group up with. If you want to unclutter your chat a bit, I suggest unchecking System Feedback. It gets rid of a lot of the yellow text. If you ever want to see it, it's conveniently located in the other tab beside your General tab. You can also make custom tabs. For example, you could have a tab that has just guild chat in it, so you can go back and review messages that might have gotten lost in the shuffle of the other chats. Or, you could make a roleplay only tab that has the say channel and the emote channel and nothing else. To make a custom tab, right-click any of your existing tabs and choose Create New Tab from the drop-down. You can also join custom channels. Custom channels are created by players and usually focus around certain topics. They don't have any moderation available, but you can join or leave them at any time you like. For example, my server, Ebon Hawk, has a global channel called Allies, which focuses on endgame operation groups looking for more players. There's also Enemies, which is a chat about PvP, usually about ranked PvP. There's also a bunch of channels focused around RP. To join a channel, type /c join, a space, then the channel's name. To leave a channel, same process, except type /c leave. If you are new to a server, try checking the SOTOR.com forums to find out if there are any widely used channels you can join. Because of all the public chat channels have no requirements to join, sometimes people may join chat who are about as smart as Bantha Poodoo. If you see someone spamming, posting annoying things, or being downright nasty, feel free to right-click their name and choose Ignore. This will prevent you from seeing messages from them on that character. Keep in mind, this may cause problems if you end up grouped with them for PvE or PvP. You'll also sometimes see spam bots trying to sell credits in general chat by telling you to visit certain websites on the internet. Buying credits online is extremely against the terms of service and is also dangerous to your game account and credit card account. So not only should you ignore these types of messages, but you can also report these messages to BioWare by right-clicking the spammer's name and choosing Report Spam. Although it won't stop them immediately, if enough reports come in, the spammer will be temporarily muted and then eventually banned. The chat system can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. The types of people you chat with and listen to can really change how you enjoy your game. So get rid of the bad and bring on the good with the chat settings.
That's great, so Teresa. And can I add just a few little notes that I thought of while you were talking?
Go for it.
Sure.
All right. First of all, for the special channels like the C-Join Utini that we talk about at the end of every show, the game does remember it pretty well. You will have the same channel when you log back in, except when it doesn't. After a while, I don't know if it's due to expansions or whatever, but sometimes there's a change in the game, and those special channels that you might have joined, you will quietly have left, and you won't know unless you actually check on it. So you can actually either join it again to see if you're and it'll let you know, hey, you already are in this channel, or it will rejoin you that way. Or you can actually manually check your channels as well. That's one thing. Also, in addition to guild chat, if you're an officer in a guild, there's officer chat, which is very similar, only it's dark green, and it is only for officers, which the guild leader sort of specifies who that actually is. And then finally, one other way to communicate with people in a group is if you're the leader, you can, in addition to the raid announcements, you can also do a ready check. And ready check will just sort of basically find out if people are at their keyboard and ready to roll.
Okay.
That's handy. I love ReadyCheck/RC that baby up. I remember back in the day we didn't used to have that. It'd be like, everybody jump if you're ready.
Yes, that's right. The jump parties, I remember that too. That was usually the easiest way if you didn't have before we had ready check. So, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to communicate in this game, and thank you very much. All right, that will bring us to the force feedback where we read out your tweets and emails. And we're going to go over Gas Guy's Codex update. Gas Guy wrote in, "Hello, Teeniites and Codex Hunters. Gas Guy here with a long overdue update of the topic of the pesky blue glowy thingies called codexes." Or codices? Sometime, I think both are correct, aren't they?
Indeed.
Yeah. As of May, with patch 4.4 in place, the game now lists 1,141 codex entries. Man, that's a lot. Of course, with duplication by faction, bugs, lost knowledge, and other assorted sorting issues, my tracking spreadsheet says there is a possible 1,797 entries to spend your time finding and tracking. Wow. I've been working on these for a while now, and I can report I have a success high of 61% on my Republic Smuggler. Even that's pretty amazing. Back in October, with the release of Kotfi, we got 39 new items with patch 4.1. In February, another 6 with 4.2. In March, got another 5. And another 5 with patch 4.3 in April. And finally 7 more with patch 4.4 in May. Yeah, it's probably because of the Eternal Championship, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I don't have all the details on all of these yet, but they have been added to the latest version of the Codex tracking spreadsheet, along with updates to 74 previous listings. These are shown in the version change column, which is column W in the spreadsheet. Drop me a line or read/update the lore section of the SWTOR forums to see about other Codex hunter finds and issues. Best of luck, and keep on clicking on blue things. Thank you, Gas Guy. Yeah, those are. That could be like that's almost like a full-time job in and of itself. There's so many codex entries in the game. All right, and actually, that will bring us straight over to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. And we're going to be talking about the Hate Police. Tio?
So yes, the Hate Police. It's a name that I coined for those individuals who take it upon them to attack anyone who talks negatively, or critically, shall we say, about the game that we all play and that we all love. And the reason that this came up at all was because of an incident that involved my partner Ari. And basically, it's a trivial thing, but what actually happened was she was just minding her own business when a notification popped up on Twitter saying that she had been added to a Twitter list called Traitors of SWTOR.
Jeez.
Now, if you know anything about Ari, she has been fairly prominent in the community, led an ops group in our Ootini Rage Guild. She's the one who put together our Ootini Inception video and has come up with various ideas for the show, various competitions we've done, such as the meme contest. That was her idea. Anyway, so she's been generally pretty constructive overall. Of late, she's kind of moved off the game. Certainly hasn't been bagging it, but has made it clear that she isn't that happy with the story direction, and is playing other games, which is obviously her prerogative. Anyway, the whole being added to this Traitors of SWTOR list, which was subsequently made private, so it was unclear whether it was intended that she see that, or whether it was made public and then private just as a way of having a dig at her. A sort of passive-aggressive kind of thing. Anyway, I'm not going to say who did it, because he really doesn't matter. Though, just to give you a little insight into his reasoning behind doing something like this, he said in a public tweet, some days you wonder what's the point. Other days you realise the point is to counterbalance the elitist bitches of the world. Hashtag rise above. So he's obviously a misogynist, and he throws the tag elitist around a bit.
And it wasn't just like a joke, is what that tweet says. It wasn't just like, haha, Traitors of SWTOR. It's just a list of people who are leaving SWTOR for whatever reason.
So, again, whatever. What the guy did, he's apparently lying about it now. Whatever. So, anyway, the point of this is that triggered me to think about those people who attack others in the community simply for not being happy, joy about the direction of the game. To say the obvious, if you're unhappy with something, you couldn't just continue to try to find the good in it. And obviously on this show, that's pretty much what we do. I've done no secret about how I feel about story, because it's one way of doing it, and I'm enjoying that for what it is, but I think an MMO needs far more than that. But that's okay. You're allowed not to love it, and being driven or attempting to drive away those people whose opinion isn't happy, joy, overwhelmingly positive, isn't very productive, because if you drive them away, you've just reduced the population of your game that much. And if you're that worried about their point of view affecting others, because the whole thing is so fragile, then there's a big problem here, and all you're doing is burying your head in the sand. Let people say what they're going to say. The developers listen, and from what Musco has said to me personally when I spoke to him, and just generally, the developers don't really care that much about all the praise, because that doesn't really tell them anything. It just gives them, okay, so this part's good. The criticism is what helps them change and redirect things for the better. And so if you always tell them, yeah, you're doing a great job, nothing changes, and we don't get anything that we want. Anyway, so I spoke far more about that than I intended to. I did reach out to various members of the community, and they have provided some short essays, which I'm going to read in their entirety. But before I launch in, Chill, anything you want to say at this point?
Oh, I think you're on the right track here. There's no... It's such a complex game. There's so many issues regarding it that just trying to put slap a happy face on it all the time and not allow any criticism is kind of ridiculous. And it's even more ridiculous that it's people kind of taking it upon themselves in this weird way. BioWare is perfectly capable of of defending themselves when they really feel they need to, and they have some pretty thick skins, because they know they know when people are being trolls versus when there's actual positive criticism. They know the difference. I'm sure they receive both kinds every day, and so yeah, there's nothing like there's nothing quite like the anger of like someone who takes upon themselves these little causes in life. It's a bizarre thing. It's too bad, because if they had just refunneled their energies a slightly different way, they, would have a lot more fun, and the people around them would have a lot more fun too, because clearly it springs, unfortunately, from a love of the game, but it just is being addressed in this really bizarre and negative way. Yeah.
Sweaterista?
I mentioned this to Dekian in chat, but if something... I have a train coming again. I'm going to go cry. Hang on.
Let's just wait for what Sweaterista has to say, and then...
Okay.
Actually, what I'll do instead, I'll read the first one, and then Sweaterista gonna have her say.
Sounds good.
All right, first one is from May. Maybe Buzz, former co-host of OotiniCast when they were still going, a progression raider, and a superb PvPer as well. So, but she has moved on and has made no secret of that. Anyway, this is what she had to say. I think when it comes to the hate police of SWTOR, they come from a place of ignorance and insecurity, like all bullies. These bullies, who are aggressively critical of any dissenting opinions on SWTOR, do so because they are scared. They are scared of superior players and how others' successes and abilities challenge their own personal worth. They are scared that criticism of the game will hasten its demise. They are mostly scared to think of a life without SWTOR. So much of their self-worth and life are tied to the game that any attack on the game is an attack on them, and they lash out against this perceived offence. The creator of the Traitors of SWTOR list, whoever he is one of those bullies who has tricked themselves into thinking their toxicity is for the side of good, kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church.
Uh-huh.
What he and others are doing isn't for good. It doesn't help the community or the game or everyone's perception of those individuals. They aren't Dumbledore, they are Voldemort, and Voldemort couldn't take criticism either. So, so that is a position of someone who is clearly very good at the game, or certainly basically an elitist, if you want to use that tag, which just means someone who's mastered it, so to speak. So take that forward as is. So, Adrista?
This is actually, I brought this up to my husband. He said it's a very common mentality to have about any hobby or any game, and it comes up a lot, especially on internet forums and discussions. And let's say someone was a rock climber and you started insulting rock climbing in general, not even necessarily them. They might get very defensive, say, man, it's awesome, you just need to try, you need to do it properly. And then there's people who don't go a little past defensive, kind of like this person, to the insulting. And I thought it was interesting that it's just such a common thing that we don't always think about.
I suppose what I'm hoping is that people can just widen their perception a little bit and just rise above it. There's never, ever a need to attack anyone ad hominem attacks on the internet. There just isn't. I know it happens all the time. It'd be silly not to think that, but really, it's just maturity to just be the better person. Anyway, let's next read something from Rachel Zamzam of zamzamsays.com. And this is what she has to say. I've noticed increase in tensions and hostilities over the last few months between those who are content with the game and or love the solo story-centric direction of the current content cycle, those who want more challenging and rewarding group content, or more simply put, the MMO bits. This has, of course, led to people personally attacking others because of their view of SWTOR. Both camps have been guilty of this, but lately I've been seeing the so-called White Knights causing the issues. I've seen people attacking and calling out on Twitter those who are perceived as negative. Torgakan, or Sir Salisbury, who's been on the show previously, is a recent example of this. He's perceived as negative simply for challenging ideals people have about the game and for being consistent with his criticism of SWTOR. That doesn't give anyone the right to personally attack him or call him out. I have personally never seen him personally attack anyone for their viewpoint, and that's true, he has not. He discusses ideas and viewpoints, and calling him out for being a negative part of the community isn't doing anyone any favours. And I should just note that the individual that I started talking about has said the most horrible things to Sir Salisbury on Twitter. Just really bad stuff. It's just nasty. But anyway, Zamzam continues. The recent list incident is another example of how petty and childish some of these people are. How is it their business that someone now plays another game? How is someone playing another game, other than SWOTOR, make them a traitor to SWOTOR? When I first read what happened to Ari, I couldn't believe that someone could conceive such a list. It's absurd. What people have understood is everyone's view of a medium, in our case SWOTOR, is informed by their personal experiences. Those who are perceived as negative have seen or are seeing their guilds die, or friends leave because of the lack of new group content. Or maybe they have been playing the game for a long time and have more or less seen all the content and have no desire to sit there and repeat it over and over again while waiting for each new chapter of a very linear storyline. I find it quite ridiculous when people tell me and others that if we aren't happy with the game, that we should just move on to something else. Can't I enjoy some aspects of a game while criticizing other aspects? Why perceive me and others criticizing SWOTOR as not liking it? Apparently some people can't understand the concept of liking a medium while still criticizing an aspect or aspects of it. Don't get me wrong, I still like the game and will forever hold cherished memories of my time playing it. But the outlook for the game isn't looking good for me and many others, and hasn't for some time, especially when it comes to the MMO bits so many of us cherish. She concludes, ultimately, BioWare's silence about upcoming future content after the Season 1 of the Knights of the Fallen Empire story just exacerbates underlying tensions and, in my view, harming the community, causing tensions that have always existed to become more manifest than ever before. So she believes that BioWare has a part to play in their, admittedly what they've always done, playing their cards close to the chest and not really revealing anything beyond the immediate future. Any thoughts on that, or shall we move on?
Yeah, Zamza mentions at the very beginning of her letter that she noticed increase in tensions and hostilities between people who love solo and people who love the MMO bits, and she hasn't been the only one who's seen that. These letters are often focused about people who enjoy discussing SWTOR in the SWTOR Twitter family, I guess you could call it. But I've seen a lot of this also on the SWTOR subreddit, and it's been, I guess, getting worse and worse since Coffee came out, because we're seeing less and less group content, more and more solo content, and less chances of the MMO bits coming around, and the longer that goes on, obviously the more heated the discussion gets. A little while ago, someone who was later admitted to be trolling, they were very upset about the discussions that were happening on the subreddit, saying people were too negative and they shouldn't be posting propaganda about the game, and they could only post positive stuff, and the rules should be changed, that people shouldn't be allowed to rant about the game at all. And it was very, very Care Bear, I guess you could say. Like they said, they were trolling, they were just being silly, trying to cause a ruckus. But the moderators there basically said that they barely like the censorship rules as they are, and the censorship rules are just to keep out, people who are obviously there to cause problems. Right. And I really liked their balance of moderation of allowing free speech and putting down obnoxious speech, I guess you could call it. And I am curious how long this can go on before people either just leave these types of communities because they're sick of this conversation going on, or if things change that both sides can be satisfied. And another thing that Zamzam said I liked is that how ridiculous this list is. One of the things we have in our guild that, it's not unique, but not all guilds have it, is that we play 3 different games. We play SWTOR, we play WildStar, and we play Guild Wars 2. And the, I guess, amount of support we show for people who are getting bored of their current game and want to switch over is huge. Like, if someone says, whether they're someone who just started playing with us in SWTOR or they're actually been a leader of our guild for 5 years or whatever, we say, oh man, have fun in WildStar, and there's a whole bunch of people ready to welcome them on that end. And we never say, oh, you're horrible, I can't believe you're leaving SWTOR, unless we're saying it just to be silly, and we're entirely joking. It is a very ridiculous argument. I can understand someone being upset about another person talking negatively about the game, but simply to leave the game to try something else out, that's so incredibly silly, especially because so many people who returned from Coffee had left had left the game for years and came back to try out these new chapters. People come and go from games all the time, and we absolutely want them to go try out other things and come back if things aren't suiting them. Like, you're not going to play a game if you're bored or you're not enjoying it. What's the point? Why would you want someone to do that?
Agreed.
And she said something else that I really liked. She talked about, especially about guilds dying out and being able to enjoy the game, but also be negative about certain parts. And you guys have seen how much I enjoy the game. I make these Academy videos about absolutely every facet of the game, from crafting to leveling to PvP. Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but we'll get there eventually. And even though I love so many aspects of the game, there's so many aspects that I hate and I rant and rave about on this stream even sometimes that I wish would be changed. And there's no way to be 100% positive about anything. If you are honestly 100%, you love every single thing about something, you're probably closing your eyes a bit and ignoring the bad bits.
Yeah. Alright, shall we move on to Laurie's?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, next essay is from Laurie. This was done in conjunction with Nathan, or Nepthan, formerly of Old Republic Radio and Old Republic Dad's Guild on the Shadowlands. So this is mainly Laurie writing, with lots of input from Nathan. What Laurie says is, games are, in a way, like ecosystems. In order for the whole to be healthy, individual parts must be nurtured and allowed to thrive. While some parts may receive more or less developer attention, all of them matter. A great recent post made by Ion Hazikostas of Blizzard summed it up well. Almost every facet of WoW, that's World of Warcraft, is an activity that caters to a minority of the player base. So every facet of WoW is an activity that caters to a minority of the player base. When the ecosystem of a game starts to fail because one group receives all of the focus, it becomes, again quoting Ion, a far smaller game in the process. And he's right, because I watched that happen in SWTOR. I watched most of my PvP friends leave, and many in the community said, good riddance. Then I watched top-end PvE guilds leave, to be met with the same, good riddance. It's normal to feel like a game community is home, and that can make any criticism, no matter how constructively offered, sting like your own family is being attacked. But treating it as a personal attack is not healthy. No one is perfect, not even game developers. We have to be aware of our mistakes before we can learn and grow from them. As a side note, I believe that almost all game developers care about the games they are producing, even if the end result ends up not being what we wanted. She goes on, I was told, after watching most of my PvP guild leave over the removal of ranked 8v8, this game was not made for you. If you don't like it, just leave. So I did. I had previously been a big cheerleader for the game. When everyone wandered off to check out Guild Wars 2, I stayed. I talked many of my friends into coming back to the game, some of them twice. But then I was told I wasn't wanted. Don't criticize. If you're not happy with the current state of the game, just go play something else. So I did. Sometime later, I watched history repeat itself, as many of my friends who enjoyed Operations were told they would not be getting any new content for the foreseeable future. As many of them had formed their own close-knit guild families, they felt the same sting I mentioned earlier, as those guild families were threatened and started to suffer. When they expressed their frustration at this, they were told the same thing I was. This game was not made for you. If you don't like it, leave. So many of them did. Among them were guild leaders, guide writers, theory crafters, and podcast hosts. The game became smaller. Sorry, my dog's growling. Sammy! Anyway, the game became smaller. Subscription numbers may not have reflected this yet, but the whole of the game is bigger than the sum of its parts, and the loss of these community leaders caused it to become a smaller game. The game was made for all of you. And every time you attack a member of the community who enjoys a different part of it than you make it smaller. Try making it a bigger community and game instead. So thank you, Laurie and Nathan, for that. Again, wise words. Anything to add at this point, guys?
Nah, I like how they echoed a lot of May's thoughts about SWTOR feels like home for a lot of people, and that's why it's defended so much. Just, it's not having a positive effect, unfortunately.
All right. Now, I have one more email from Sashari, which I think I'll go through because he kind of takes a more balanced view and does balance it out nicely. So I'll finish with that, and then we'll have some final words and call it done. All right. And finally, and I apologize for the length of this, but these were all such really good comments from people that I just can't help but include them. This is from our friend Sashari of IamSashari.com, a streamer, though he has been a bit busy in real life, and actually a current host of Passionately Casual.
Mm-hmm.
What Sashari says is, studying how people relate to each other is a pet project of mine, and I've come to use the following analogy for people's reactions to situations like what we have seen in SWTOR lately. If you were to take a speedboat, attack a line to the back, attach a whole group of people to the end of the line in an attempt to make them water ski, and then if you were to turn up the throttle on the boat, some would fall off immediately, particularly those who have a lot of weight to carry. The faster you were to drive the boat, the more you would fall off until, at the very end, only the fittest and most adaptable would remain. This general idea applies any time you have a group of people in an organization or associated with each other in a setting such as an MMO. Some people are more adaptable to change than others, and those that find themselves stressed out by change, or the rate of change, will no doubt feel and express some displeasure at falling off and getting wet. SWTOR has changed recently. BioWare has changed recently. There's no doubt about it. And as a result, some are expressing displeasure, particularly those with more weight to carry. Those who are particularly attached to the state of the game as it was. That said, how we relate to each other under these circumstances is a matter of choice. We can have a constructive conversation, or we can fail to understand each other's perspectives and can berate each other as a result. Yes, there are many who have felt displeasure and have been very vocal about the changes in SWTOR. This group needs to bear in mind that although their displeasure is a valid opinion, not everyone will be receptive of their message, and expressing it forcefully and continually is bound to inflame some conflict. On the other hand, the most adaptable people who have chosen to stick with the game have valid opinions too, their own personal reasons to continue playing. However, it is unhelpful for them to turn around and berate those who are struggling with the change. Everyone has their threshold. Everyone falls off the line at some point given enough change. And since we are all in the same boat, so to speak, it makes no sense for us to attack each other. Not only will we be struggling with the change, we'll be struggling with each other as well. My suggestion is that we be patient with one another and commit to having a constructive conversation with a tone that is beneficial to all. Yes, it will be difficult, but it is also an opportunity to rise above the issues and display the best of humanity and the best of who we are as gamers. And yes, there will be disagreement, but the spirit in which we disagree determines the tone of the conversation. I would much rather have a constructive conversation about a challenging situation than a destructive conversation about a challenging situation. Wouldn't you? Very nicely said, and does kind of sum it up nicely. There is never a need to attack other people. It did. And that motorboat analogy I'm really not struggling with a little bit, but I do see what he's getting at. I guess one underlying message here is don't take criticism of the game personally. They are not attacking you. And if the criticisms are valid, then don't be scared of them being expressed. Just hope that they will be taken up by the developers and perhaps affect some change. And don't worry about them scaring off other people. Those people aren't going to leave just because someone expresses an opinion. If the people are enjoying the game, they will stay because the game has its own merit. They won't be scared off. Just don't take it personally and don't attack other people. Say what you got to say and then have the conversation. Okay, final words from Sweaterista and then Chill. Sweaterista?
I think that sums it up pretty good. Be patient, be kind, don't take it personally. It's really good advice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's clear that when we're talking about folks who are creating, haters lists and so on, that it's become very emotional for them, and it's difficult to say anything that will really make that situation better. So we may have to ignore them, but on the other hand, if you're in a situation like this where you want to sort of lash out, maybe it's best to take a step back and see what the tone of your of your challenge is, and before you actually go ahead and post that on a public forum. And hopefully we can, still be talking to each other at the end of this and not end up getting into big flame wars.
Let's conclude with this rather awesome comment from our friend Gasguy, Mr. Codex. Immaturity has no bounds. They are everywhere. Patience to deal with them in an effort to educate is what sainthood is all about. But success is not guaranteed. So love your family and be good humans. Well said, mate. Well said.
And good Twi'leks. And good Rhodians.
Indeed. All right. Let's wrap up because we've gone way long.
Okay, then that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @UtiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. Thank you to the chat room, and thanks, Swotarista.
Bye, everybody.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, keep recording as usual. Guys, thank you for sticking around for that. And I guess we'll see how that comes out once I edit it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of responses you guys get to this one, because we were also being a little Careberry, love your fellow human beings.
Well, that's kind of, well, certainly sort of my attitude on the world. So I prefer to be constructive and creative rather than destructive, because that's just...
Right.
No, sometimes I think in the world there are makers and breakers. I'd rather be a maker than a breaker, because that's how you build a better world, right?
Maybe just got in the chat room. It's maybe Buzz.
You can see it in the
May or
replay,
so.
May. It starts at about half an hour before now is when we kicked off that part. Yeah, May. Very nicely said. An unedited version, I suspect I will not cut it much out at all. Very little. Very, very little.
You have
That'll
to
be...
take my trains out.
Well, you mute, so I never actually have trains. I never leave the pauses
It's a good
in.
thing it would burst your eardrums.
Yeah. Just like that sound, the bird sound in Eric's live stream. God, that was a shock.
Oh, for anyone who missed the live stream, Eric Musco told a story about how at a cantina a fan licked his face and claimed him as his own.
And then he did it again later?
Yes.
Yeah. Poor bastard. All right. I need to get editing, so thank you very much for listening. And next week, we'll talk about something a lot lighter, hopefully.
See you guys. Bye.
So, yep, talk to you next week. And thank you for all your great commentary. Take it easy.